And now it is Western Kabuki. And I really just want to say right off the top, we were going to talk about the blood red sky that is bleeding unbreathable air. We were going to talk about the ongoing investigation of the Mueller report. The Mueller She Wrote ladies. We were going to talk about the Apple Glass, but all anybody can talk about these days, and we're going to have to jump right in, is that Baby Gronk rizzed Livy?
No, it's the opposite. Livy rizzed Baby Gronk.
Juniper, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I could have never.
You have to get the details right.
I can't believe I.
Yeah, no. Livy rizzed Baby Gronk. She even hugged him.
Yeah. Is Baby Gronk the new Riz King Caleb Bird Respecter? What do you think?
None of those words are in the Bible.
That's true.
Amen, Caleb.
And a man whose accent sounds like he knows a lot about the Bible, Billy Wayne Davis. How are we doing?
Praise you guys. Praise you.
Billy Wayne is a comedian. You can catch him on tour shortly, if not currently. You're not on tour right now, are you?
Not today. No.
Oh, okay. Oh, do you come home and then you don't go out on tour?
Yeah, I do. I just got back. I was gone for 10 or 11 days.
Oh, I see.
And then I don't I've been doing it a long time. Mm-hmm. So now the way I'm doing it is kind of changing because I like being home with my children. So
of course.
And there's other ways to make funny money. So that's
yes.
When I first started, there was a handful of ways, and a lot of it dealt with the devil. So
yeah. But we're very excited to actually talk about somebody who found a very easy way to make money by lying to everyone, never telling the truth.
Lying, we're going to discover, is really, really lucrative. Incredible.
If you can just keep doing it, it is. If you can just lie to everybody kind of all the time and then keep the same energy while you're doing it, you're right. It is the world is your oyster. It really is.
Just don't get caught, basically, is the vibe.
That is.
We're about to talk about somebody who got caught.
Well, I was going to say, lying, being a con person is a lot it's great, but don't get caught. It's like heroin. It's pretty great. Just don't get addicted. Do you know what I mean?
Which, what I know about heroin, which is very little, isn't that the first time?
Yeah. And I think that's being a con person, you're going to get caught too.
Yeah.
So
I like to imagine that the Mueller She Wrote lady is chasing the dragon of the first lie that she ever told, and that's what this is all about.
You get that vibe from the kinds of lies that she's telling, because they get more and more spectacular. I can't wait to.
I'm sorry. I hate the interrupted thing, but that's the nature of this thing. So
it is.
Sometimes I hear my mom every time she's like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, this is how you do. Gotta do it. So I'm sorry. But before we get rolling, I am somewhat familiar, and I didn't dig deep enough because I like to be ignorant on some of these things. It's more fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But can I guess that? Because immediately chasing the dragon of her first light. So there are people that I've encountered in my 42 years of living that are never going to admit to any lie. Because if they do, it's just a house of cards of lies they've built. So if they admit to one, everything else just crumbles. And you're like, this is a fascinating way to live. It is a tight wire walk of a life. Am I close?
It feels like less of a tight wire walk.
More like a Rube Goldberg machine of lies.
She lied about documented things. She lied about things that you can Google, what her military service. And
she is lying in court as of earlier this week. She loves it. She is somebody who's lying because she genuinely loves to lie.
Do you think this room's gonna make me stop lying?
You can't make me swear on the Bible. I wrote the Bible, so it's kind of silly to have me.
That is like, yeah, I wrote this, and you're like, well, we're in trouble here. This is, as a juror, I'd be like, oh man,
Conflict of interest.
This is why you do it, folks. This is why you do it.
This is why you choose to get selected for jury duty.
Yes.
This lady.
Yes,
But yeah, we'll dive deep into the whole thing. But it is really impressive how some of these lies go back decades ago. Like, as far as I'm aware, or like she's lying about things that happened over a decade ago.
She's lying about things that happened before she was even born, dog.
Before her mother was born. She's lying about things that happened before her mother was born.
Ancestral lies, spiritual lies, man.
She has tainted her own bloodline with the foulness of her lies. So let's talk about this liar. Allison Gill, one of the hosts of the Mueller, She Wrote podcast. Now, the very first thing I want to say about the Mueller, She Wrote podcast is that they very clearly titled it before we knew how to pronounce his name properly, because they thought it was Mueller, She Wrote, which sounds more like Murder, She Wrote.
man.
Which is...
Or they're just forcing it. They're just forcing it.
You would... I don't know.
Either way, I mean, it does. The name does go kind of hard. We have to give
you
her
like
that.
You like the name.
I mean, I don't. I think it's. I don't like the podcast. I think the name for what it is. I mean, it's popular for a reason, and I think the name is a big part of that. You know,
the name is like 30% of the reason that she's a podcast millionaire.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, of course, especially, I don't know how much of our audience was like politically aware in like 2016, 2017. I don't think our audience is that young, where they're like 18, 19 now. But like,
we should do a survey
they struck
and find that out.
fire. Yeah, that's a good question. But they like she struck gold. Like, she struck fire at that time with the name, how she came out about it. I guess we can maybe give some context about how it all started. She was about
where we are now in early 2019, and I know that because I was listening and she talked about their download numbers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember back in like 2018, early 2019, maybe even 2017, when I was before I was on Twitter, and I was like a Redditor. My dark past, I was a Redditor before I was a
never
poster.
Let them see your weakness, Juniper.
No.
You don't have to tell them this.
I'm telling them this because back during the whole like Mueller, like people updates about the Mueller report and like what he was doing was like, that was politics for like a good year or two. That was like what everybody talked about almost every day in like the mainstream, and like not like in liberal spaces, and even kind of like lefty spaces for a while. Like, everything was about the Mueller report, how the walls were closing on Donald Trump. Like, that was just politics for at least 2 years. And like the main politics subreddit, everyone would always be like, oh, you have to listen to Mueller, She Wrote. Like, it's so good. It's covering everything. And I never listened, but it was just like, it was perfect for the time that it came out in. It was, yeah, they struck gold, basically.
It's really fucking bad, though. That's the thing, is like, have any of you guys actually listened to any of her multiple podcasts that she has?
Never.
So I have heard her on podcasts for sure, but I don't think I never listened to Mueller, She Wrote or any of these spin-off shows that now exist.
Do you guys remember that fucking lame Chapo joke was like, what the fuck is a Lev Parnas or whatever? But like,
yes.
It's true. It applies here. It's like,
it does.
If the people that actually give a shit about Lev Parnas, or like, these are people that like make money like sifting through, like panning for gold, except for the gold is shit, and they're going through the minutia of some dumb bullshit like Lev Parnas and this Russia stuff. And she milked that. I mean, she turned that into like a podcast empire now, but like, spun that shit into gold. Where it's like, if you listen to it, it's the most boring dog shit, just like a weekly recap of whatever was on MSNBC. And like, I don't know. Now apparently, you know, she claims that she's got news scoops and she's doing this and that and the other, and it's really bad. And she has the it's called the Daily Beans, is her daily news podcast, and I love it. It's
incredible Gen X name.
The tagline
is to the Gen Xers in here. All
offense, but it's the news, but with swearing. And it's like, okay.
No. No, that's for I mean, okay, so that's just, it's all pandering. All of it.
Yeah, well, that's like that type of wine mom liberal crowd, though. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It is this kind of pandering where it's like you said, there's no substance really to it anymore, especially. And it's just familiar, and you put it on, and you can yap while it's on, and then you can. But if you're actually listening to it, you're like, it's going to drive you insane because you're like, there's not a whole lot of information here. This is not. This is just kind of like but that is a version. I mean, what that is a cult. It's like a version of just a lot of what a popular podcast now is reminds me of, like, what any popular local, regional, even radio show. Where those
Yeah, or I mean, it's also true of like preachers in certain parts of the country where they have like billboards and stuff. They have like their own little following and people who are just
certain parts. You mean most parts of the country?
I do. Not the part I live in though, so doesn't count.
Sure.
But I used to live in Texas and stuff, and you see the like visiting preacher billboards and stuff, and it's like,
that's crazy. That's real.
The same as I've
never seen that.
Very real.
As a Midwesterner, I've never seen that. Catholics don't do that shit.
Well, I have some friends who have like popular podcasts who have done stand up most of their lives, or like performance comedy, and then have gotten on a podcast and it taken off, and we talked about, like, and they don't really talk about it on the air or anything, but they talk about how, like, when they go, they've sold more tickets than they've ever sold. And I was like, well, what do you do as in, like, in front of them? And they're like, well, we don't really record, we just kind of talk. And I was like, what? And they're always like, yeah, you don't have to really do anything. It's just like when you walk out, they're very excited to see you. And
like there's no bits. They're there for the vibe, basically.
Yeah, and then they're like, I used to worry about killing or doing well, and now it's like they just want to hear us talk in person for whatever allotted time we were going to say, and then we just okay, that's it, and then we leave, and then they applaud us we just killed, is what they say, and you're just like, is that weird? And like, it took a long time to really get used to it.
Wild.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there's a parallel to Mueller, She Wrote, because they did I don't know if they still do, probably not, but they did like live shows of the podcast too, talking about some of this stuff.
Yeah, just like reading the news to an audience.
Yeah, like I like I said, I haven't listened to anything they've done, but I imagine that's what it is. I can't imagine it's anything more than that.
It's literally just that. But it's funny because they do like epic news. I don't really know how to explain. It's like, okay, I have an aunt that when I was in high school, she would be like, after I had a football game, she'd be like, oh, come over for pizza or whatever, and I'd come in and bring a couple of my teammates. And she was like the super cool, fun, liberal aunt. But then my teammates came over and they were black. And she's like, oh, I got to lock up the fucking silverware. Like, that's the kind of the podcast.
Well, you said liberal. You did say liberal.
I did.
Yeah.
It kind of nails that. Like, hey, everything's cool. Oh, is it actual time to do the things?
I said bring the quarterback over, not the secondary. Come on.
Yeah, it's just, no. Yeah, that's...
Doesn't have a head for the game.
I feel like in 2019 there was this kind of air of inevitability to like Mueller is going to indict Trump, and that is going to be the end of the Trump presidency.
Yes. Yeah,
and
100%.
So they were super cashing in on that feeling. In the same way that like QAnon folks are just like, any minute now, JFK Jr. is going to come back.
Yeah, it's the storm.
Dude, it's the same thing, because all they're looking for is like deliverance from the hellscape that we live in, just from different like lenses, I suppose, of where you're viewing it from. It's like, okay, Mueller's the guy, he's going to fix this, and we're going to be America, we're going to kick ass, and Top Gun is going to play, and whatever. And the QAnon people are the same thing, where Trump is going to fucking do a parade through downtown DC with all your political enemies in cages or whatever. Like, it's all the same shit. People
Yeah,
just
and-
need a guy that's going to do this for them.
And the funny thing is, like, Trump was indicted with the story being Daniels thing, and apparently he's being indicted again for something, like, as of today.
Bro was indicted a month ago. Like,
Yeah,
this is like-
but the funny thing is, like, none of the actual indictment that Trump is being like put through at all resulted from the Mueller report. Like, none of it came from that.
Right.
But during the
Absolutely none of
time in 2019, 2018, even people, I mean, everyone knows the walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. That's like these people's, like, that's like their like catchphrase, basically, is like, there was
As
a
he's
new
the fucking
story.
favorite candidate in the GOP primary this election. The walls are closing in any day now, dude.
Yeah.
Any day.
And he's got like
Well,
60%.
that's the thing, is that the indictment was a month ago and nobody even remembers it. It's gone. It's disappeared from our memory.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
was like,
he's so good at doing no. Here's the thing that I think that being in entertainment prepared me for the Trump presidency was that most of the country in the world rarely deals with a truly immoral person. And that's what he is. He's truly immoral. He's like truly a narcissist. Like, for real, might be for sure a sociopath, might be a psychopath kind of dude. And that dude doesn't, like, most human beings, you're like, hey man, we caught you doing this and this and this, and you'd be like, fuck, really? You caught me doing all that? All right, shit. All right, my bad. You got, all right. How much of my giant wealth do you want? Leave me alone. He's not that dude. So he's like, is that all you got? Anyway, so I'm going to get in the jet and I'm going to keep doing what I've done my whole life.
Yeah, he hasn't stopped.
And,
like, it's happening still.
and it's like, I keep explaining to somebody too, like, people are like, how can you believe this? I was like, well, it's not like, for most people, let's say you got 3 DUIs in 1 year. That changes your whole life.
yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're, let's say, even if you're making $250,000 a year, you're doing well. Your life is different for a while. There are consequences to those actions. Trump his lifestyle has never changed his whole life. Nothing has ever, like, even the day he went to court, like you said a month ago, we all forgot about, he's just in a building for a little bit.
Yeah, when he emerged, like, he was like in an interview 2 days later. I was like, wait, I thought he was indicted?
Yeah.
Like, what's he doing
got
in
back
an
on
interview?
the plane. Like, I think he probably went to dinner. He probably went somewhere nice for dinner after being indicted. You know, he took his picture and stuff. And it's like, yeah, he got back into, like, they took his picture when he's leaving. He's like, hey, this is how I leave buildings. This is just another building. This time they put fucking weird bracelets on me for a second. That was weird.
And that's what's funny, like, looking back at, especially the Mueller. I keep saying Mueller different. How the fuck do you pronounce his name?
It's not even, he's gone.
It's not
you know what
important.
I mean?
Yeah,
It
he's
doesn't really matter, but on the podcast they pronounce it Mueller.
Mueller. Okay, I'll say Mueller then to respect them, which I don't need to do.
Pronounced murder.
But yeah. But but that's the funny thing about that era is, like, indictment was like the end game. That was like when it was over for them. And seeing how it's played out, it's just like, oh wait, that was just like Tuesday. Trump being indicted the first time was just like a Tuesday, basically.
Here's a fun thought experiment for our listeners. You know he was indicted, but think about this. Close your eyes and think about this. What was he indicted for, and what does it have to do with, like, politics? I mean, I'm not saying that he's not deserving of the indictment by any means, but most people don't even know why he was indicted.
I think it's going to be hard once he has actual people running against him and they can go up on stage and say, you were arrested for paying hush money to a porn star. Is that correct? Like, why am I talking to this guy?
Like, he's going to be like, yeah, I did. You got me. He's going to be like, so? He'd be like, so, yeah, I was boning a porn star, and sometimes you have to pay him off. And then all his people are going to be like, yeah.
I think they're going to have to break out again with the we didn't elect an angel thing. But I think that's going to be kind of hard when he's...
It's a lot harder when his most recent, I guess, legal woes were he got in civil court found guilty of sexually assaulting a woman. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I mean, I don't
His
really think
greatest
that.
strength, if we're being honest, is none of those people besides DeSantis and a couple other like Pence, who's like a masochist.
Why is he doing it? Why is he doing it?
I cannot
Because
wait.
he's real religion and like real like a true believer in the book is. And I've been talking about this on stage a little bit. Like, listen, I don't care about religion. Like, it's the mostly decent people just trying to find community and discipline is what most religion is. But like people that really believe that book, you gotta watch them. That's not, you can't. And he's one of those people, he's like, he believes that book. And now he's just got the right people in his dumb ear saying, like, you know, Jesus wants you to be beat this guy. And like, that's what Jesus wants. And your wife, she'll touch it one more time if you do this. And like, he's just
The last erection.
Oh, it's like it. I've done this on stage when he was vice president, but he looks like sexual repression were a human being. That's what it would look
Yes.
like. It's just that tightly wound man.
And it's underrated part of this current election that we're going to see in debates is Trump versus Pence on the debate stage. Like Pence is going to take a beating from his previous boss. Like that's going to be so funny.
I mean,
I
it
am
is. It's like
imagining-
Kenny Powers and Stevie. It is.
I was gonna
like,
say, Kenny Powers and Stevie, very true. Also, I think you should leave skit with Cecily Strong and the Magician, where
Oh,
like, you took out
man.
your little boy
oh
dick.
God.
That's like it's Trump, Pence, and Mother. She's like, you need to go out there and prove you're a man to Donald Trump. And he's gonna go out there and tell them how much money he makes, and he's gonna think he's weird.
That sketch, if anyone has ever dated like a truly, like been in a relationship, not dated, but been in a relationship with like a truly like not well person, like her character, I've watched that sketch with people, and that people that have been in, they think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen, like I did. And then I've watched it with people who are just like, I don't get what this is crazy. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's how some people are. That is, yeah. And they're just like, this is confusing. I'm like, oh, God bless you. You've just lived your good little life. That is, you've always chosen well. That is great.
Yeah, big wife guy points to Billy Wayne. I'm gonna take some wife guy points for myself as well, because my wife was like, "What the hell is this that happened?" Or wait, did you say your wife was one of those people? It sounded like you were saying that.
No, my wife understood why I was laughing. And she was like, oh, yeah, no, this makes sense. And I was like, no, it's cool that you don't think it's as funny, but this is a huge release for me. And then another one of my, I showed it to two of my buddies, and I thought they would both think it was funny. And then that's what I realized, like, oh, this
is a different demographic.
This is for some people, and then some people do not understand it. Like the one dude did not understand why me and the other dude were like cry laughing. He was like, I wish I understood. And I was like, no, you don't. No, it's good that you don't.
All right, so I think we've got to. I think we got to get into the lies. What kind of lies is Allison Gill dealing out? What purveyance of mistruths has young Miss Gill done for us?
Well, most of this came from the thread that's been going around from Fraud 101. Alex, I think that you had said you had some familiarity with this account. I didn't know of this person until this had.
Yeah, this account's been around for years, and they have a sort of a tradition of exposing very specifically like Trump era Russiagate kind of people. Before this, I mean, they took their name Fraud from a guy named Claude Taylor, who was like a big Russiagate guy for a while. And so yeah, this I remember this account from like right about when like late 2010s.
Damn.
So
yeah, no, this is the first time they've popped on my radar too.
So can I ask a clarification question? Russiagate was basically people that couldn't accept that while Russia probably did some stuff, without a doubt, not as much stuff as people wanted to believe, because I think it was just mostly people who were like, our country can't be this bad, and you're like, oh yeah, it is.
I mean, Russiagate were the people who were like, the Donald Trump piss tape is real. We're definitely.
I still think it is. I just don't think it'll matter. I think they probably they focus grouped it, and people are like, yeah, I mean, this looks like something he would do. So anyway, and they're like, that's useless. We don't have anything.
What's crazy about the P tape is like in 2016 ish, like the idea of the P tape existing was like the fucking funniest thing I could have ever imagined. Like this is now I'm just like, oh, that's just a Tuesday. Like this doesn't mean anything anymore. Like the P tape could be real, and I
probably did.
It wouldn't move the needle at all.
In fact, that would probably give him some points in the polls. Like people would be like, hell yeah, dude.
The piss guy vote.
The piss guy.
The thing about the P tape that always fucked me up is that it was like made very explicit, and the thing that made me always think it was true is that it was always made very explicit that he was not pissed on and nobody was pissed on in the exchange. This was purely a power fantasy.
He watched ostensibly he watched some Russian women pee on a bed that Obama had stayed in when he was in Russia or something.
It's such a strangely specific thing.
That would help him.
I kind of agree at this point. Like we're so far past any of that mattering.
I didn't realize the details of that. I thought it was like a sexual thing, and I was just more like, okay, it's just some people would be like, I can't comment, more than anything that hurt him. But if it's like him watching Russian prostitutes pee on a bed that Obama slept on, I think his fan base would masturbate to that video
with him, like a gooning session, dude.
Yeah, like not in a sexual way. Just be like, this is true power. This is how you do power. And you're just like, oh, they vote so many times. All these people vote.
100%. No, they'd love it.
This is a lot of tangents, but I do enjoy them, so I apologize.
No, we're great.
It was that he went to Moscow to attend the Miss Universe pageant and hired 2 prostitutes to pee on a bed that Obama slept in.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is. I'm sure the prostitutes were like, it was one of the best evenings of our lives. We didn't have to do anything weird. We just had to pee on the bed, just on the bed. It was He laughed like a weirdo, and we're like, oh, that's the guy from the TV. And then when we get home, no one hit us. It was great.
they're up 10K both.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was this counterintelligence guy named Christopher Steele who assembled a dossier of basically rumors that he'd heard like in sort of the intelligence networks he was in. And then I think BuzzFeed were the people who actually posted it, and the peeing was one small part of it, but it was a lot of like Donald Trump had like this incredible hand in sort of like cooperating with Russia to undermine the U.S. election, and a lot of it has like at the time it was reported very credulously. I think over time people have gotten a lot more circumspect about it. But I mean, the P tape was really like the most important part of it, obviously.
It's what everyone knew from it. And you're right. Like Christopher Steele was like, for like a solid 6 months, he was like, him and Mueller were like household names. Like every good lib knew everything that was going on with those two guys. Like Christopher Steele was like a hero to some people.
And this is the thing that I genuinely don't understand about the Mueller She Wrote podcast is like, how did somebody like, I don't understand how Russiagate got to that point. I can understand like being like, well, Donald Trump isn't really the president on some like low key sovereign citizen shit, being like, well, technically, he didn't X, Y, and Z, and so he's not really the president or whatever. Hillary should be the president. But then when you take it to the like, on January 16th, Rex Tillerson just so happened to be in Washington, D.C. It is like,
But his lawyer said he wasn't there until the next following Tuesday. Curious.
Well, that's the thing.
Who cares?
That's the thing. It was promoted mostly by like mainstream media, like MSNBC, CNN. That was like the audience for this type of stuff. Like after the first couple of months, like it was like, I feel like we can all admit, like the whole Russiagate thing, I think most of us kind of were like, oh, okay, for like a little bit.
Totally.
But after, I definitely was for like a really brief period of time. But after so long, after so much of this kept going on and on and on, it was primarily like that, like suburban mainstream media watching, like Gen X to boomer type liberal that was like really tuned into the stuff. Like
and
that is the audience.
That was the weird thing, because I was like a Russiagate person for a pretty brief amount of time, because I was just like, oh, so what happens if Russia did like somehow influence our election? And everybody was like, oh, well, Trump would still be the president. You can't just vacate an election. I was like, oh, okay. So what do I care? I don't know.
Well, that was the thing for me, was like, I'm sure they are. I don't know if you're aware of our history and other people's elections, but I'm sure
we've had our hands in a lot of elections.
Yeah, I'm sure some people are like, hey, we're gonna fuck you guys. You know what? Fuck you. But I remember eating at a Cracker Barrel outside of Houston, Texas, about a month.
This is how you know a story is going to be fucking great.
So,
Not everybody remembers a Cracker Barrel outside of Houston, Texas. I'll tell you that much.
I do remember it specifically because we drove by many, many great restaurants to go to this Cracker Barrel. Because I was like, I guess we're going somewhere fucking dope. And then I was like, oh, okay. We are not. Okay. Just some of the best, ethnic food in the world is in Houston. And we're like, it's just any of these shopping centers, probably the best food we could. Oh, okay. We're going to, all right. So it's some old people, and they lived outside of Houston. And it was about a month and a half after he had announced, where it was still kind of, everyone thought it was funny. Do you know what I mean? Where everyone was like,
100%.
Everyone was like,
like people would watch the escalator video and be like, he thinks he can win.
Well, and it was like, he's doing that thing where he's just, and then he'll drop out because he's funny. And a lunatic. But we were at this lunch, and there was this lady that I was there with one of my grandmothers and this man, and then there's some of their friends, and this hateful lady in the corner who was just kind of rude to the wait staff the whole time, which is embarrassing to me. Like, I went afterwards, or like during actually, and was like, hey, I'm not with that lady. I don't like her, and I'm sorry. She's like, it's part of work in here. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess we are. Yeah, I guess you're right. And but she went on and on about Trump and how she thinks Trump is blah, blah, blah. And then her husband was like, yeah, me too. And like my wife, when we got in the car, she kind of laughed. She said, hear that? And I was like, yeah, he's going to win. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, what we just saw, that's who votes. And that's who talks about that stuff. And she was like, no. And then when he won that night, and the big shocker, everybody's crying, she looked at me and she was like, you said that outside of a Cracker Barrel. I was like, that's when I knew. I knew it right then.
The Cracker Barrel prophecy.
So well, I've just also traveled enough my whole life to be like, this is not good. This is not a good sign. So,
yeah.
I heard you tell that story on a podcast in 2016, certain that he was going to win in like May of 2015. And I was like, this guy sounds really, really sure. And then when he won, everybody's like, how did you know? And I was like, I listen to a lot of podcasts with stand-up comedians, and all the comedians are saying that he's going to win. I think that's valuable.
I don't know if you're telling the truth, but that is
I am telling the truth. I'm absolutely telling the truth.
Yeah, I'm not making any of that. I was like, oh.
No, I remember
shit.
it.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of us remember like the moment we knew, or like the moment we like realized.
What was your guys' before we get into this? I know we're like, fuck, over halfway through this episode, but I do want to know, because that's such a good. It's like where were you, like 9/11 moment, but like where were you when you realized that Trump was going to win?
So for me, I kind of have a similar story, but I didn't realize. I think I've told this on the podcast before, maybe once, but I want to say it for Billy Wayne, just because it's a very similar type of story. My dad is a very, very he's very like conservative, but not like socially, but he's my whole life been a very conservative guy. And in 2012, when I started getting into politics, I think I was like 15 or 16 in 2012, I was paying attention to the 2012 election with Obama and Romney. And me and my dad, even up to this day, still will like talk about politics. We get along very well. And even at that time, we got along very well. We have a lot of fun talking about politics, even though we have like insanely different views. He told me, I forget what prompted it, but he mentioned to me, if Donald Trump ever runs for president one day, I'm going to be voting for him. In 2012, he told me that. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, all right. And in 2016, when Donald Trump announced, I was talking to my dad about Trump running, and he I've never seen him more excited about like politics in my life. And I was like, oh goddamn, this is the energy. Like this is real. But I didn't think Trump was going to actually win until I think the night of the election. Like I kind of thought Hillary was going to win, just because like Trump was like insane and like just horrible. But I was hanging out with a couple of friends, watching the news, and we were like, oh, this is going to be fun. We're going to watch the news. We're going to hang out, have some drinks, have some desserts. And the night just got worse and worse as states went for Trump. And I think they announced Pennsylvania went for Trump. And that's when it set in. I was like, oh, it's like actually
it was like
over.
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia, like at the same time.
Yeah.
Like very quick succession.
Yeah, and all of us in the room were like, "Oh, wait, this is like this is happening."
Well, also
that's when it hit.
Why I think Russia still has something to do with it, just not the way we think or whatever, is how he looked like dreadful when they announced. Like he was like, oh,
he looked miserable.
He like, oh, fuck. Yeah,
I read the Fire and Fury book, and obviously a lot of it was bullshit. But like when he recounted being in the room with them when Trump won, I was like, it's like, yeah, like Melania's crying, and Trump is like being very quiet in the corner by himself.
She didn't sign up for that shit, dude. She thought that she had the easiest job in the world.
No, she wanted to pee on Obama's bed. That's what she wanted to do.
So much easier to piss on Obama's bed.
Such an easier gig. Yes.
That's really
Caleb,
funny.
what about you? What was your like moment?
So I'll just tell you this. I was like a late in the acceptance of the fact that Donald Trump had ascended. I sent my best friend in the world, Carly. She moved to the UK to do her postgrad, and I sent her. The funniest thing, in my opinion, that happened in those elections was when Trump went after Kasich for how he ate those pancakes. And he was like, he eats just the look. He looked like he just smelled a fart when he was talking about it. He was like, he eats like an animal, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, to me, it was the funny, because it's true. Kasich, if you go back and look at those pictures of Kasich stuffing his disgusting face with those pancakes, he was eating like a fucking animal, and it was disgraceful to this country. But Donald Trump, being the guy to say that, it was like so obscene to me. So I sent her the video and the link to the news article, and she was like, Caleb, this is still a joke for you, but like I've been out of the United States now for like a year and a half or whatever it's been, and like you have to accept Donald Trump is going to win. Like it's over. Donald Trump is not just going to take the primaries. He's basically at that point. It was like him and Kasich and maybe someone else left, but Donald Trump, everyone else had basically dropped out at this point. It's like there's no way he's going to beat Hillary. No way. Fuck off. But no, she was right. It's true. That was the moment I was like, oh wait, like this is real now. Like, it's not just some imbecile carnival barker talking about how John Kasich eats pancakes. Like, this
No, it
creep
is.
going to be
It is
president. Yeah. I mean, it is that, but yeah, now except now this guy's the boss. So yeah, that was my story.
He won. The weird guy talking about that shit is he won.
Yeah, I knew Trump was going to win, not just because of you, Billy Wayne, but also because of I was listening to a lot of podcasts at the time. Do you guys have any familiarity? I don't even know if it still exists. The podcast Race Wars.
Oh, you told me about this when I came out to Philly and visited you. We talked about this a little bit. Yeah.
Race Wars was
Sounds
like
rad.
it was like a Cumtown predecessor with these two comedians. I still really like. Well,
Oh, it's like Kurt and Sherrod, wasn't it?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
knew
you know,
that sounded familiar. Where I was like, it's a bad idea. Who did it?
Kurt Metzger did it. Can you believe Kurt Metzger had a bad idea for a
He
show?
will follow through. That's what's fun.
But yeah, I used to listen to that show all the time, and I just heard like comedian after comedian come on there. They did like it was like I don't know, just one of those round table type of podcast things. And yeah, they would just have all these comedians come on and be like, I was in Wyoming and I think Trump is going to win. And somebody else will be like, I was in Connecticut and I think Trump is going to win. And it's like, why do they all think this? Why is every comedian saying this as they're touring the country? And so, yeah, so I was just like, the comics are saying it. I don't know. It seems like they have the mandate of heaven in this election cycle. And I'm going with them. And then everybody got mad at me like I did it.
No, that is how we got hit pretty hard with with us being like, well, listen, we're out talking to y'all all over the place every night of the week, and I hate to report back, but this is what people are talking about, and it ain't cool.
Yeah.
But it's,
No, I mean, even to this day, like a lot of leftists that were warning, like, hey, Donald Trump has like a huge chance here, still get shit
yeah,
for that, like just warning, basically, which is crazy.
yeah. That's the thing is like, hey, I was in Alaska in January, and there's still Trump signs out. There's no other signs, but there's still Trump signs out. And it's at one show I did, this is in January, this old man, he was 100 and old. Like, you don't see that many that old in Alaska. And
I'd imagine not.
I was like, whoa. And he stood up, like, I'd been up for about 4 or 5 minutes. And not even that long to be even offended. I was like, that's why I was like, oh, I think it was just more, he's like, oh, we have to go home now. It's time. And he had a Trump hat on. And I was like, oh, does he not know? That's over. Does he not? Is it not got up here? And they got a big laugh. And then someone's like, he might not. I was like, that is. So there's people that are hanging on to this thing way longer than. Like, they're in a cult, you guys. It's the lady. It's a different kind of Mueller lady, is what it is. Am I still on?
You're saying yeah, no, you're good. You're saying the like the right wingers that are like really into Trump are like the opposite of like the Mueller people?
No, they're the same.
They're the same. Oh yeah, like an opposite side of a coin, basically. Like they're the same coin, but just opposite sides.
They're cult members. Like the people that
Yeah.
listen to that Murder, She Wrote or whatever are the same people that have made it like to where she's like a millionaire, are the same people that are still on Trump's side. But he's also getting millions for it, but he's also still got a good shot at being the president again.
He does, yeah. Which is scary.
And no one knows what to do with it because he's been indicted. And they're like, well, we thought maybe. And I was like, you guys don't understand. He's just going to keep going until he died.
Yeah.
And it's possible that he wins again. Like in all reality, like, I mean, who knows really? Time will tell on that front. As
and
we
hateful,
get
mean
deeper into
people
this.
live longer.
I mean, what's his name? Henry Kissinger. He's 100 years old. He's still alive. He's like 100. He just turned 100 like 2 weeks ago.
Did you see that thread of like people who are walking into the venue where his birthday party was?
I didn't. I saw it. I meant to go back to read it. I didn't read it though.
It was like Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots. Anthony Blinken was their current Secretary of State. It was just
all of our
yeah.
most honorable Americans.
I didn't see any pictures of Dershowitz there, but you got to imagine he was in the mix.
I just think he's even to those people like, man, he's just not cool anymore. So you guys wouldn't go to that? I would go.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I would go
yeah.
with the fucking bomb vest from first. No, just kidding.
It's worth going to.
I'm too
It's definitely
curious
worth going to.
about how those rooms operate. Not to be like, I'm gonna protest and not go. I'm like, I want to see what they do when no one's looking.
I think
yeah, like
that
what they talk about.
yeah, being in that room is enough stories for the rest of your life about like, well, you'll never believe what I overheard Condoleezza Rice say in 2023. And it really put it all into perspective for me. That's just going to be like the rest of your life.
I imagine it's like the ceremonies in Eyes Wide Shut, the Kubrick film. I imagine that's just like what they do there.
I hope it is.
It'd be hot with that crowd.
Yeah, but oh man, that's also that is. But from my experience being around wealth, it's kind of boring. A lot of it.
I was going to say, those people aren't really interesting enough to do. Like, I would imagine they're just about half of them would just be like robots turned off staring at drywall. You know what I mean? I just don't think that those people are like, I don't know. There's like 1 in like 10 of them are evil and be like, let's do Eyes Wide Shut. But the rest of them are just like robots. I don't know.
Well, and then the relatives of the powerful ones are like, yeah, I'm do some like Prince Andrew. Like, I think he realized pretty early on. He's like, oh, I don't have any real responsibility, so I just kind of horny it up around, and everyone's like, I mean, yeah, kind of. But then the internet got invented. And he's like, everyone's like, hey, you gotta cool it with the horny stuff, and he was like, what? I can't.
No, I imagine, like I'm thinking of Anthony Blinken. He doesn't go to Eyes Wide Shut stuff. Like that's not his vibe. He's evil,
He doesn't
but
get
not
invited.
like that kind
That's
of
the
evil.
problem. No one's to see
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
It's like
they only
Always
get
Sunny in
invited
Philadelphia.
once.
Frank Reynolds just mauling the buffet at the orgy.
Well, that's one of the Epstein theories about Lex Wexner or whatever his name, Les Wexner, is he was kind of boring.
Oh, the Victoria's Secret dude?
Yeah, and that's how Epstein, like, he knew how to, like, talk to him and engage him and make his life more fun, and then he got in with some finance stuff, too. Because that dude gave him a mansion in
Access to
in
his
New
like,
York.
accounts and stuff.
Yeah, he
Crazy.
was a power of attorney over Les Wexner.
Yeah, that's
Dear Lord.
That's look, I'm fun. I'm really fun. It never occurred to me to be so fun that someone's like, let me give you everything. You just
Here's my social and stuff. And
Yeah, let
fun
me
as
just go on your
hell, man.
payroll.
Yeah, you're fun, dude.
Here's my bank account information.
Here, I'm a billionaire. I got jets. You are fun. Here, just any decision I make has to go through you now because you're so fun. You're like, and then no one asking me questions about that. He was just like, oh man, it's a bad judgment. And everybody's like, okay. What?
All right, we should start delving into the
No,
lies.
here's the deal.
No?
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal. No?
We have 10 minutes left on this episode.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Sorry,
Fuck.
I ruined it.
No. This is
No.
great. This is great.
You made it, is what you did, Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
So
fishing.
we're
I
gonna
knew I
keep
did
honking
ruin it.
off about 2016, and then we'll get into the dirt behind the paywall. How about that?
Amazing.
Yeah,
idea.
because I think we
Let's
really
it.
do. I think it's important to like talk about the lies in specifics.
You really have to get into
because-
the headset. You have to remember the players. You have to remember like the mindset of these perverts before you.
We're gonna get very Lev Parnas with it. I mean, not
We are. I mean, listen.
No, definitely.
I did fucking. I deserve some sort of Pulitzer or something for the fucking journalistic work I did on this goddamn.
He did real
episode.
journalism. He
I did real journalism.
He
I
made
did
phone
freedom
calls.
of
He spent
information
$15.
requests. I
What was
paid $45.
$45.
When it was all said and done, I paid $45. I ran background checks. I did the Freedom of Information Request Act on court documents. I did real work for this. So if you want to see your Patreon bucks at work, stick around for the paywall. That's what we'll say.
Yeah, it's some good shit.
Do we,
Okay, so
now what do we talk about
that
for
did
7
derail
minutes?
what we were talking about. But I do. You know what? let's do a hard ass pivot. No segues.
No segues. What are we doing?
$3,500 for the Apple Vision. What do we think about that?
Okay, I am in if you give me $3,000 back.
Yeah.
What
that
is
sounds
it? I
reasonable.
didn't. I just saw the pictures, but it's like some of that
It's a
stuff.
VR headset. I don't know. It's a
It's
VR headset
VR?
that's slightly better than the ones that already exist.
My son has the Quest or whatever it's called. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Facebook one.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
Meta
that you
Quest.
have to.
I have one of those. It's fun.
It is fun. It's.
You play the football game and you're in the stadium. The graphics kind of suck, but it's like, holy shit, dude! I'm the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. This kicks ass. Or you play the Gladiator one and you just like decapitate people for like 15 minutes, and then you swing and hit the wall on accident, and your knuckle hurts, and then you say, "Fuck this game," and you don't play it for 3 months. That's what I did.
That is kind of, and it makes them sick a little bit too. It made the teenagers a little sick. That was kind of funny. They're like, I don't feel
by
good.
by every metric I've heard of VR in general, it's like pretty fun.
VR
VR
kicks
is
ass,
like
dude.
generally fun. Yeah, it seems cool. But for me, this strikes me like this new Apple Vision. It really, I see the parallels of the Google Glass, specifically in the price point. But
Yeah, Wax
one
started
thing
playing
that,
the trailer, by the way.
So
don't know
I am
if you
playing
guys
the
have seen it.
Disney trailer, the Disney specific trailer for the Apple Vision, and
so
this is so the thing that
This is the coolest thing that they could come up with.
Yes.
Oh my
this
god,
is
I'm
the
watching
best.
Baby Yoda in a sandcrawler from Star Wars. Oh my god.
It's correct.
Grogu.
Correct.
it's Grogu.
So it
Grogu.
is.
I'll never call him
Grogu.
Grogu.
It is augmented reality, isn't it? It isn't just virtual reality.
Put
because it
me
has a glass
courtside at a
screen.
fucking basketball game. I don't care. Like this,
That is cool. Yeah.
This shit right here, where it's like up above watching the basketball game. Put me courtside, man. I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah,
If
I
could
don't know
look
what
around
the
360
value add of having it on your coffee table is, like, as opposed to just watching it like a regular thing.
Yeah,
Well, like
if-
what I was thinking, like it makes sense if you're a traveler and you're like just kind of want to, disappear back into your thing. You can put those on, but it's like I remember. I don't think it's as accessible as all these nerds want it to be to everybody. Because
Well, this
everyone's
is the
just like,
thing.
I don't care, dude. And they're like, no, but it's like a thing. And then I did a bunch of ones and zeros, and it's like another thing. And you're like, cool, man. Also, it makes me vomit if I do it for longer than an hour and a half. And they're like, okay.
Which is lucky because the battery life's only 2 hours, so you're basically set.
Beautiful.
is the battery
the thing
life really
is
only
that-
2 hours? I thought I had a fucking cord.
It has a cord, but the external battery only lasts 2 hours.
For fucking $3,500, 2 hours.
Yeah. For $3,500. Why is that crazy?
That's crazy.
Well, one time, okay, Ron Funches is always on the cutting edge of video game nonsense.
sure.
So if I have questions, but so he had one that was hooked up to like a fancy computer he had built just for this VR thing and some other stuff, of course. But so I did a couple of dabs that he had and plugged into this. It was like a zombie thing, and then you put earphones in. You put earplugs in. And I did that, and the first level was really fun. I was killing zombies. And then the second level, I was like in this park in the middle of a city, and it was kind of dark, and it really felt like I was in a park. Like, and I did
It's
it for
the
like
sensory thing. I know exactly what you're talking about when I play that with my brother-in-law. He's a video game developer, and he same thing. I'm pretty sure it's the same game. I don't know how many zombie games. Maybe there are a million. It's not necessarily the graphics, but it's just like the experience with the surround sound
Yes.
and whatever. Like,
So
it
I
really-
took it
spooks
off
you.
because I was like, oh, I'm actually scared, and that isn't fun for me. And Ron is just laid on the couch, and he just goes, yeah, I was curious about that one too, because I can't get past that either. It's scary. I was like my body was reacting like, you need to get out of here.
There's two things though that struck me with this Apple Vision. The first one being like we watched that video, and I think a lot of people have seen that video from Disney. Like do we really think that's how it's going to launch? Like, do the metaverse, the Facebook metaverse shit, like just happened a year ago, and none of it was like what they promised.
Well,
so
that
like,
was
do we
money laundering.
That was, but like, and maybe I don't think this will be quite the same thing. But the thing
No,
I think
the
that could easily
metaverse
be the
is
same
money.
thing.
Like he just did that to launder a bunch of money into other companies.
I think yeah. I mean the way that it
Allegedly,
like collapsed too,
I
because there
know
was no
that they're
value in it.
powerful. Allegedly,
There was
that is a theory I have.
I mean, I think there's some value. I mean, the metaverse in practice kind of felt like how crypto was, and both of those have collapsed and currently collapsing. Crypto being that one.
Well,
But
my
I
buddy
just feel
said it
like,
the first time the metaverse when they were selling real estate for like millions of dollars to people, and he's what he does is program stuff, and he's difficult to talk to for most people, but for whatever reason, he and I get along. And from the start, I was like, "Hey, what is this?" And he goes, "This is a scam." He goes, I was like, "Oh, how so?" He's like, "Well," he's like, real estate, it's like there's only one of it, so that's why it's worth something. He's like, in a virtual real estate, it's virtual, so you could just keep building more real estate. So I don't understand what they're paying for it. I was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like that was like an under talked about aspect of the metaverse is that you could buy like real estate in the metaverse.
You could be Snoop Dogg's neighbor in the metaverse.
Yeah, and the metaverse and this Apple Vision is way different. It's not the same technology. It's not going to be the same sort of thing. But I just see that video and I'm like, is this really what it's going to be like? Like, I just don't buy that.
No.
I don't think even close. Like, it might be pretty good. I don't know. But I feel like there's no way it's going to be anywhere near what they promise. I feel like that's just been the case with a lot of technology in the last like decade, is that they promise a lot and then it's just like, oh, it's just this.
Well, I think they get surprised by what becomes the popular part of the technology they invent. I think they never know. I think that has a lot to do with like, here are 9 new things on this phone. We hope one of them's what you motherfuckers dig this time, because we never really know what thing. It's like an app when they do an update or something. Like every now and then they do an update and you're like, oh, this is cool. It's like a good thing they've done. And then most of them you're like, I don't know who this is helping at all. This is, but they don't know going in. It's like to me, it's like jokes. It's like you could think something's like really funny, and then you put it out there, and people are like, "Yeah, I see what you're doing there. That's and you're like, nothing, fuck." And then you say something else, not even thinking, and they're like, "That's really funny," and you're like, "Are you serious?" Because the other thing I worked really hard on, and that just came out, and they're like, "Yeah, that's what you should go with. Just half-ass it all the time," and you're like, "All right, this is." So I think that's part of like the creative aspect of like, I have 3 damn cameras on my new phone, and it does look good when I take pictures. But
yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And I just wanted to tell one story because I think it's mildly kind of funny. And watching the Apple Vision rollout reminded me of this. So back in like I think whenever the Google Glass came out, like in 2012, 2013, whenever that was, there was this rich kid at my high school that got one. Like the day it came out, this kid got one. And he had the Google Glass because I don't know how people who are like not in their late 20s or older know what the Google Glass even is, but it was basically like, how would you even describe it? It was like a smartphone in glasses.
It was supposed to like do things like if you wear a regular pair of glasses, it was supposed to go over your glasses. If you don't wear glasses, you're just supposed to wear this thing on your face and look like a fucking idiot. But it was like, it would keep your grocery lists, and it would tell you if somebody messaged you on Facebook on your glasses.
Yeah, it was basically that. So this kid was wearing it for like 2 days, and everyone just relentlessly made fun of him for wearing this. And he was the only person I've ever seen with it. And after the second day of people being like, "What the fuck are you wearing?" he stopped wearing it. He never wore it in public again.
Yes.
And then, as far as I'm aware, it's just like, yeah, bullying always works. But after that, I never saw any other person in the entire world ever wear one.
Well,
And you-
it's like contact lenses exist because people hate glasses. So there you go, Google. It's like, hey, what if we just put glasses back on? People had to wear them. They're like,
But
no.
Billy Wayne, what if you made them like 10 times more expensive, and it's goggles that go around your entire head, and you get to watch Grogu like you're on Tatooine? Had you thought about that?
You're in the speeder with Grogu. You're driving, and he's in the passenger seat.
I like when they pitch stuff like, and PS5 doesn't exist. You're like, yeah, it does. It does. They already have this.
Okay, so thank you so much, Billy. I think we can call it there for this this portion of the show. We appreciate you coming on. What would you like to plug, good sir?
You guys watch, well, I have a special out. It's available. It's called Testify. Billy Wayne Davis Testify. And it's on YouTube. If you're poor, it's free. And if you have a little money, it's on all those things too, that you get your stuff. It's very good. I'm very proud of it. And I have a cannabis podcast called Grown Local. If cannabis is your thing, hit us, like, listen, it's cannabis industry, not like deep industry stuff, because I have to pull them back in. But if you're interested in like to smoke cannabis, it's a good podcast to listen to. So there you go.
yeah.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
nice.
having me on. Anytime, you guys. This is really fun. Sorry I did so many tangents, but you guys are fun.
No,
to talk
No,
I-
no, this is great. We had
Billy,
a
I've
great
listened
time.
to you on a lot of podcasts, so I knew what it was. I knew what I was signing up for.
good.
You can follow us on Twitter: Whack Nicholson, Juniper, Caleb, or it's not Caleb, is it? It's the Bird Respecter, and Alex A. Gorman. Thank you so much. We love you. Goodbye.